labor and economic changes, stuff like that. That's why I remember.
You said something happened in the, please tell me that you didn't write that. Something happened. If you ever write anything like that, you definitely be assured you will not get full credit. But let me ask Mr. Ave. Please help out Ms. Champong.
There's government regulations that decrease public sector workers that union membership began to decline.
So basically, the one was the decline in what, first of all?
Public sector workers.
Public sector workers, but also was coupled with a decline in what? What was happening in the 80s?
Oh, a change in industries.
What was the economy on the way up in the 80s or the way down?
Down.
Down. So first of all, it's a decline in the money, right? Decline in what's the biggest money sector, or at least it was the biggest money sector in this country at one time?
Car manufacturing.
Manufacturing, right? The biggest, and so it was a decline in what? In the manufacturing sector, right? So decline in the manufacturing sector, right? Coupled with, as you said, what? Employer and governmental initiatives, right? That brought about a erosion of what? Membership in what? In labor unions, all right? So then, in the 2000s, what came across, what happened, the big things that happened in the 2000s?
The housing crisis.
The housing crisis happened. What was the first in 2001? 9/11, right? And then you had, what else happened in 99, 2000? The dot-com, right? All these things, again, contributed to this so-called what? New normal. New normal. I'm sure you all got that point. It was easy. I came straight from page 117. I mean, page 17. All right. So that was that's what we were talking about in terms of the new normal. Okay, you guys can have a seat. Thank you, Mr. Ave. Okay, and so now what are two factors for determining how unions will fare in this new normal? Two factors going forward that will determine how unions will fare. Mr. Fitzgerald.
I guess the economy would be one factor.
There are two factors. And that's not one of them. Let's go to Miss. You can sit there. Help out, have somebody help you out there. Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, help out Mr. Fitzgerald.
So I said the two factors were whether the American electorate and workforce see the new normal as something worth enduring in the future way of life. In other words, like if there was like a secular movement towards conservatism, then regulation will be relaxed and employers will increase their opposition to unions.
If there's a secular movement towards what?
Conservatism.
Towards conservatism. I'm sorry, you must have gotten it confused. Read that sentence there.
Which one?
If there is a secular movement
toward
what?
Conservatism.
No, sir.
Replacing.
Please read the sentence.
Towards replacing incumbents.
Right.
With progressive legislators.
That's the first secular movement.
Okay.
So again, this terminology can be confusing, but again, the answers, if you read it, will come out at you, right? So again, let's even eliminate this concept of secular movement, because the way they're using it may be confusing. Okay. Let's just use the word movement, all right? If there's a movement towards what?
Replacing incumbents.
An incumbent is what? Do you know, Mr. Ferguson? Ferguson, right?
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald. Don't know. Okay. Incumbent, sir?
Negative. I do not.
An incumbent is somebody who's already in.
Okay.
Thus the root word what?
And
In. An incumbent is somebody who's already in. So in what? In a job, right? Maybe in a position, right? Incumbents are the people who are, for example, if you're running in a campaign, like I ran for city council, there was a sitting member of the city council. He was the incumbent. Incumbents oftentimes are not as progressive. They want to hold on to whatever what they have. They want things to be kind of static. They don't like, agitators. They don't like rebel rousers. They don't like some people saying, let's change the status quo, right? They want to do what to the status quo? Keep the status quo, right? That's what generally incumbents are. Now, there are some progressive incumbents, generally, but generally incumbents are for the status quo, all right? So again, continue.
incumbents were progressive legislators. Then laws and regulations to facilitate organizing will be enacted, but so too will social programs that reduce the need for workers to organize to obtain the outcomes they would get from the legislation.
So again, that's one. So that's one factor, is whether or not there will be a movement towards progressivism, right? To make life better for who? For the who? For the who? Starts with W? Workers. For the workers. One. All right? That's one factor. Or you don't have a book, right?
No.
You don't have a book. Now again, what group are you in?
3.
Group 3. What group are you in, sir?
Group 1.
Group 1. Who is in group 3? Now, did we not talk about at the last class? Who was not at the last class? Okay, let me explain to you. Let me just go back. What this is a practice for law school and also for B school. For both business school and law school, you will oftentimes have groups that you form. And these groups that you form, study groups, are the basis by which you will either pass or fail or go to the top or linger in the middle or the bottom. Because they are the support group for you. Because it's impossible to do all the work by yourself. However, if you spread out the work, then you have a chance of going to the top. Right? And so if somebody doesn't have a book, then that person has or should be able to rely upon the people in his or her group, right, to help out. That's what, again, these groups are all about. So you should not come to class unprepared, because somebody in the group should have a book, right? And somebody, if you don't have a book, then you should sit next to the person in your group that has what? A book, right? So everybody can be able to get what? The class participation point. See what I mean? Finish up, sir. So the other one factor is a movement towards progressivism. The other factor is a movement towards what? Conservatism. And what happens in conservatism?
Their regulations will be relaxed, and employers will increase the opposition to unions. And even public sector unions may be in retreat as legislators insert themselves into bargaining to reduce public sector pensions and benefits toward private sector level coverage, or even seek to limit or eliminate collective bargaining rights for public sector employees.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to give you one more chance. So what do you think? Mr. Fitzgerald, right? Mr. Fitzgerald. What do you think, Mr. Fitzgerald, we are in right now? Are we in a movement, an environment that is represented by a progressive movement? Or are we in a movement that's represented by essentially people who are incumbents or conservative incumbents, in fact? Which one of those two?
I guess incumbents.
Incumbents who are what? Are they progressive or are they conservative? Which movement? Where do we exist now in the political pendulum?
I would say conservative.
We're in the conservative pendulum, right? Because what's happening here? Are we getting more laws to make union organizing easier, or are we getting less laws to make union organizing easier?
Less.
Thank you for helping them out. All right, we'll give you that point. That's what we got to do. Work together, win together. Thank you very much. That's it. We are in right now, again, an environment in which, again, the unions are on a decline. And again, who was that? What's your name, Chef? Mr. Jackson.
I think so.
Movements are on a decline because, again, we have a decline in the progressivism, the progressive movement.
Yes.
Lastly, number 3, explain NAFTA and why it's the most important factor in the past 25 years for the decline of labor unions in the United States. And you better be guaranteed this will not be the last time you see this question. Guaranteed. All right? So, let me ask Miss Latin. Miss Latin. Nice hair, dude, by the way. Looking really professional over there, Miss Latin. Minus those tattoos on your arm. I'm just saying, you go into the workforce, just put a little sweater on or whatever, you know what I mean? Tighten that up. But nevertheless, Miss Latin, you tell me, what is NAFTA? I can't believe your partners in your group allowed you to stand up and say you do not remember. All right, let's go to Mr. Mason. Help her out. Of course, Mr. Mason.
NAFTA is the North American Free Trade Agreement.
North American Free Trade Agreement, right? Now tell me, Mr. Mason, why is it the most important factor over the past 25? When was it that agreement entered, first of all?
1994.
1994? 1993, you think? What does the book say? Or what does the Google say? Signed in 92? It went into effect in 94. Okay, 92. Okay, great. We'll give you a little bit of that. All right. Okay, go ahead. Finish telling us about NAFTA.
He was asking why it was the most important factor.
Right. What did it do?
It opened the trade borders between Mexico, the United States, and Canada.
So there was an agreement between which countries?
Mexico, the United States, and Canada.
And what did it do?
It took away the taxes that they were placing on imports from one another.
The taxes, also called what?
Tariffs.
Tariffs. Whoa, man, these people are intelligent. It took away the taxes. So again, normally what happens is that if you make a good in Detroit, right, and then you ship it down to Mexico, you would have to pay, again, a tariff. Likewise, if you made a good in Mexico and you ship it to Detroit, you would have to pay a tariff, right? Same way, if you made a good in Detroit and ship it to Canada, had to pay a tariff. But what happened? You said in 92, they created a law to eliminate that. And I can tell you that in 1992, I was actually working. In 1992, I was working for Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor Company in Detroit as an engineer. And we went up to Canada to check out a manufacturing plant. And we had some limited activity, a Ford manufacturing plant. But never did we know what was about to happen. So what happened was that, again, if between Mexico, Canada, and the United States, who do you think had the greatest union protections and had the greatest pay for workers between those three countries? Was it Mexico? No. Was it Canada? No. Who was it? It was the United States, that's right. The U.S. had the greatest protections and the greatest wages, right, for workers. You could come out of high school. You could graduate from high school, start working in the plants, start picking one shift, go from making $0 per hour as a high school student, graduate high school, be in the unions, and start making from, $40,000 to $50,000. Then, if you had a year or two on the job, you could actually pick up 2 shifts. So you're going from $40,000 now to $80,000. And then guess what young people were doing? They were working 3 shifts. 3 shifts out of high school, 20 years old, 2 years under your belt. You're going from making $0 an hour to making $100,000, some $120,000. Never been to college. And that was for all people. Caucasians, African Americans, Latinos, anybody. So long as you're ready to work. That's good money, right? It's real good money. That's what was happening in the D. But, lo and behold, NAFTA, they're making over here, the manufacturing sector's over here, at max, you making $40,000 there, you're making like $10,000 here. You working 2 shifts, you working two shifts, you're making $20,000. You see that? 3 shifts, what? $30,000. People like, oh, we can pay these people here $120,000 for working 3 shifts, right? Or we can pay people here $30,000 for working 3 shifts. Who are we gonna choose? People down here, right? And people down here, they don't have hardly any regulations. So you can, work people till they dead, basically. You know what I mean? You might have some fingers chopped off from your food, because guess what? Guess what's made in Mexico? Do you know what's made in Mexico? Anybody like Oreo cookies? Oreo cookies? I mean, all the potato chips. I mean, look in the bag. What does that bag say? Where's that food manufactured? On the back of it. What does it say? Again, just check out your foods. A lot of the foods are made in Mexico, and they have very little product safety and worker regulations down there, right? So that means that the companies don't have to spend money on protecting their workers and protecting the products, right? And so again, you have a choice between, paying somebody in the D or paying somebody in the M. Which one are you going to go for? The M, all day long, according to the people who are in the business. So that's what they did. They said, cool, what we're going to do is we're going to take this whole plant, the entire plant, Detroit, from Ohio, Illinois, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to take this whole plant and ship it down here. Boom, boom. Just like that, Indiana, Pennsylvania, all these plants that used to be lined up across the manufacturing sector, so-called Rust Belt. Take them all. In fact, we don't even ship the buildings. Even take the concrete from here down there. Right? And so what happened? What happened as a result?
No jobs, less jobs.
The jobs. The jobs were lost. People didn't have places to work anymore. You couldn't come out with a high school diploma and start making good money and buy yourself a house and raise a family. Right? You couldn't do that. And so therefore, as a result of that, without jobs, what happened to the union members? Can you be a union member with no job? No! No! So union members basically began to decline. Union membership began to decline. And unfortunately, the unions went along with NAFTA. Unions, and who was the president at the time in 1992? It was crafted in 1992 under who? Bush. But it was actually implemented under who? Clinton. So you had, again, a so-called Democrat getting all the unions behind him to support him on NAFTA, saying it's going to help bring all these so-called jobs. Did it bring in the jobs? No. It reduced the jobs. And that is, young people, dear brothers and sisters, the reason why NAFTA is the single most important factor the past 25 years for the decline of the labor unions in the United States. And some would say probably even in the world, because, again, the labor unions, both in Canada, they were trying to basically keep up with the labor unions in the United States. Labor unions in Mexico, they will also try to probably, do their best to keep up with them. But again, because all those jobs went down here, generally, some went up here, but mostly went down here, right? There was no need to kind of keep up, because down there you have fewer unions, or the unions you have don't have the same type of bargaining power. So that is what's happening. Really, when you get down to it, you'll see that essentially it's the wealthy elite, the how many percent? 1% that owns 99% of the wealth, that basically they began to see a way of how to exploit the workers, the 99%, right? More. So they can get more money and share less with the people who actually produce that money. That is the reason, Ms. Slatney, why NAFTA is so important, all right? Thank you very much. You guys can have a seat. So again, with that backdrop, we go to chapter 2. So again, it's now 5:35. This is our guidepost for today. From 5:35 through 6:35 for the lecture. And then we'll have from 6:35 to 6:50 and break. From 6:50 to 7:25 lecture. All right. Let me also say at the outset, the homework, extra credit homework for this upcoming class will include watching the movie that was listed in the syllabus, the movie Birth of a Nation. All right. There'll be additional movies that we'll watch as well. One I think I mentioned to you also is the movie called Out of Time. All right. So you want to watch that movie, do an essay, you have it in your pocket. So when I put it on Blackboard, you can get that down as well. Okay. All right. In addition, you can also know that generally when we go over these chapters, the also another exercise for homework will be the terms. All right. So terms for chapter 2 is also part of the homework. There'll be some questions that we'll have at the end of the class, and we'll go into and actually put those as well. All right. So again, first is the history. So we talked about where we are from a globalistic standpoint in terms of labor union, but now we're going to talk about how were unions formed. And in the last class, we talked about the Labor Day evolution, how Labor Day was created, right? You all remember that conversation? How Labor Day was created? Okay. And so let me ask, where was the first labor organization? Before we go into the first labor organization, let's talk about the ideas of union philosophies and what these philosophies are considered. And they're generally, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 philosophies. 5 philosophies. So let's go down the list and see who can give me what. Let's say, first of all, so that was Mr. Mason, right? Who Mason, yes, you got that. All right, Miss Mathis, give me the philosophies. What are the philosophies of union movements here in the United States?
Trade unions are necessary to protect workers' rights. Labor is the ultimate creator of wealth and entitled to its return.
Five philosophies.
No.
Five philosophies that are reflected in the book, bolded under the chapter, under the heading "Union Philosophies and Types of the United States." What are those five? You don't know. Okay. Okay. Which group were you in? Group one. Okay. Hopefully this will never happen again. Hopefully our groups will work together in order to win together. So, let's see if we can get somebody to help out Miss Mathis. Miss Olatunji, how about you?
I don't have the book in the bag.
Excuse me. You weren't here in the first day, so we stand when we, because this is practice for law school or business school. All right?
I don't have the book
You don't have the book.
right now.
Yes, ma'am. You don't have the book. I appreciate you saying that. Hold on, but you need help, right?
Yes.
You need help, so you got to keep on standing. All right? So let's go to Mr. Pollock. Mr. Pollock, I'm sure you are ready. Mr. Pollock, let's get the answer.
Corporatism.
Corporatism. Absolutely. Now, tell me, what is corporatism?
Union employers and the government are really jointly involved in governing the employment relationship.
Exactly. So all of them basically work together. I don't understand why they call it corporatism personally, but maybe it kind of is based upon cooperation, perhaps, right? But needless to say, what is the second?
Uplift unionism.
All right, and what is that concerned with?
Concerned with social issues and is aimed at the general betterment of the education and economic outcomes and labor management system for workers.
All right, how many people like that one? That's who likes the sound of that? Huh? Let me see some hands. Who likes the sound of that? Only a couple people. Only a couple hands. All right. Well, let's see. Maybe you got another philosophy. Give me another philosophy.
Revolutionary unionism.
All right, the revolutionary unionism. Tell me what's this revolutionary unionism about?
Primarily oriented toward changing the fabric of society, overthrowing the capitalism system, and replacing it with the workers' control of industry.
So again, what they're talking about, let's make sure we're clear about this, right? So the corporatism, right, kind of comes from this cooperation model, right? That's the businesses working with the unions and in the government, all right? So that's what that is. The next is the uplift. Uplift, as the name suggests, the workers being uplifted. They improve, they're focusing on education, social welfare programs, other things that uplift the workers, right? Then you have revolution. Have you ever heard the revolution will not be televised, huh? The revolution. And when the revolution comes, y'all know about the last poet. Anybody know the last poets in here? Revolution. I'll teach you all about the last poets. But in the revolution, they want to basically switch this up. They want to switch the 1% owning 99% and have 99% own 99%. And the 1% own what? 1%. Does that make sense or what? That 1% own 1% and 99% own 99%, right?
Yeah.
It's all equal. Right? That's what the revolutionary philosophy seeks to achieve. Now tell me about the business unionism.
Involves the representation of employees' immediate interests, primarily the regulation of wages, hours, and terms and conditions of employment.
So in that instance, they are basically just looking short-term gains, right? What are your wages? You know, what are your hours? Basically, just kind of taking care of your short-term gains right there And that is called, again, the what?
Business union.
Business. One of the basic essentials is make sure the businesses work smoothly, all right? Almost the minimum that you can do, they want to make sure that everything's working smoothly. And then the last one is what?
Predatory unionism.
And that is when what?
Occurs when the union prime goal is to enhance itself at the expense of the workers it represents.
That's when the primary goal of the union is survival. So in that instance, it's almost kind of reverse of this, where the unions are again supposed to be bodies representing the members, right? What they seek to do is basically make sure it's almost kind of like the union is basically sucking off the members, sucking off the work of the members in order for the people who are controlling the union to continue getting their money. Did you know that when you are elected to an office in the union as a union representative, do you have to continue to actually work the same 9 to 5? If you're a president of your union, do you have to continue work your 9 to 5? No. In the contract, if you are a president of the union, for that time you're in office, you only do union business. But you get what? You still get paid from that organization, right, that hired you. That's in the contract. And on top of that, you get union additional income as well. So again, a lot of these unions are structured so the people who are at the top, some of them basically just want to stay in with that type of, salary, those type of benefits. And so that's the predatory union model, right? So again, let's see a show of hands. Who likes the cooperative or the corporatism union model? No hands. All right. Who likes the uplift model? Okay, a couple hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 5, 6. Who likes the revolution? You scared about saying you want to redistribute the wealth and try to make sure everybody gets their equal share? Who again? The people shaky about that one, man. They shaky, afraid. They only want to say what's in their hearts. Come on, man. Nobody wants to work 100 hours. 100 hours, create the wealth, and have the people at the top, the ones who are benefiting. In fact, you know what? The first movie that you will watch is not Birth of the Nation. It is Out of Time. That's the essay for this subclass. It's Out of Time. Watch that movie. You will see the difference. Just for pardon me? Watch it and you'll find out, sir. You'll find out. All right? Then let's see, how about the business? The business model. Who likes the business model? A couple people like the business model. And how about the predatory model? Who likes the predatory model? Oh, no hands go on to that. All right, excellent. Great. Thank you very much. Okay. So that is Mr. Pollock got those, right? Yeah. All right. All right. I'm sorry. I need somebody. Take time. Take time. You know what? It's Matt. Get time from me, right? Every 5 on the 5. Okay. So tell me now about the conspiracy movement. Now, who were the first workers who won a wage increase through a kind of a strike action? Who were the first workers? Miss Powell. Is Powell here? No, she's not here. Miss Prince. Who were the first workers who won a increase in wages? Who were, what were they called? What were they called? These workers who won and increased, the first ones. And what year was it? What?
1978.
Oh.
17.
No, hold on. You said what? What was the second thing you said, man? Journeyman where? What year? 1770. God, I come on. I mean, yes. Journeyman in what state?
New York.
What state, ma'am? Miss Prince? Miss Prince? New York. Hold on, you say what?
I was trying to read it.
You didn't read the chapter?
I would.
Okay, again, that will be no excuse. That will be no excuse. All right? The New York journeymen, what were they? They were journeymen what?
The first 2 chapters.
Journeymen what? Printers. Printers. Again, we want to understand what time? Thank you. We want to understand what this whole idea of a journeyman is. Right? They're journeymen. Who's ever been to a union? Been in a union? Anybody in a union? In the different trade sectors, they're journeymen, they're masters, right? They're different people who are in these kind of classifications. So you go from a journeyman to or start from an apprentice to a journeyman to become a master. I think the highest level of labor is called the master level. All right. But again, these people who were in New York, printers, they had some type of collective action, and they won a increase in their wages, and that was again the earliest known documented union action, so-called. But what happened even before that? Okay, you can have a seat. You can have a seat. They don't talk about that here. What are some of the earlier union uprisings, or the earliest worker uprisings? Earliest worker uprisings, even before 1778. Think about it. Think about some of the early worker uprisings we talked about in the first day class. That was Miss Prince, right? Miss Prince. Mr. Scott.
You said one of the earliest uprisings?
Earlier than even 1778. What happened in 1776?
That's the birth of the nation, right? Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence. It happened in 1776. Yeah. What happened? What happened before 1776? You had. When was the? Remember that the people they were protesting what? Protesting tariff on tea.
Tariff on tea.
When was the Boston Tea Party?
1774.
Look it up. When was the Boston Tea Party?
1774.
Who were they? So they were consumers, right? Protesting the tax that they had to pay on tea, right? 1773. Uprising, right? That was an uprising. What are some other uprisings even before then in the United States? Who were the people who were plowing the fields and raising the horses and building the houses and building the business? Who were they?
Slaves.
Ha! Did they just go along with it all the time? No! They had some uprisings. And guess who were slaves at that time? Were they people of just one race? No! Right? There are people, again, of all races who were enslaved. Right? This 1%, they might all have been, and they were also, actually, quite frankly, the 1% was integrated as well. It wasn't just Caucasians at the 1% back in the earliest time of this country. People of different colors, but the people who were at the bottom, the 99%, they were people of all colors. They began working together, right, in order to overthrow the 1%. And that's when they came up with the what system? The American what system? The American caste system. ACS in short. American caste system was created as a result, we talked about this the first day, right? In order to basically reduce the power of the workers by doing what? DNC. Another DNC. D and C. Divide and conquer. Come on. Did you miss your point, Mr. Ed? Let me go back if you missed it. Okay, you got you. That's right. Mr. Ave is on today. Go ahead, Brother Ave. D and C. That's right. Divide and conquer. And that's what they were doing. They were dividing and conquer the workers. And that's what they came up with, the American caste system, to divide and conquer the workers. So that was, again, and they don't even talk about that here in the book. Thank you. They don't talk about that there in the book. You know, they want to basically, you know, kind of isolate. They don't want you to consider, you know, again, the slaves as workers for some reason. But they were workers. And they were uprising, right, in order to protest, again, unfair treatment of labor. So it would be, we would be making a mistake if we were to isolate them and not to include them in this conversation. All right or wrong? All right? But again, nevertheless, this book talks about another milestone in the evolution of the unions. From 1778, what was the next one? The first so-called union organized was in which state was that in? Was that Mr. Scott? Who was Mr. Scott? Or was you? The first union, Mr. Solomon, was organized where?
Pennsylvania.
And that was the what?
The Federal Society of Journeymen
Cordwainers. Cordwainers is another word for what? Right. And it was organized in what year?
1794.
And it was formed as a result of what?
Changes in the way shoes were marketed.
What do you mean by that?
Until 1790, journeymen manufactured bespoke or custom work. Shoemakers took orders as a
Who?
master shoemaker.
So note the difference between these labor groups. You have the journeyman, right? You're journeying to become a what?
Master.
A master. So the journeyman, so you got the apprentice, right? You got the journeyman, and then you got the master, right? So the journeymen were the people who were making customized work. The masters were doing what?
Took orders and supplied material to the journeyman.
Who then what?
Produced a pair of shoes or boots for an agreed on wage.
But what might happen though, in between that time?
Days or weeks might elapse between the order and the finished shoes, because this was an inconvenience, inexpensive for customers. The masters developed three other market classes: shop, order, and market work.
And so what happened in that concept? What was shop work?
Shop work was for the master's stock. Orders work was for wholesalers, and market work was for public market.
So the master stock. Who was the masters?
So who was the master?
Who were the masters? Well, the elite.
Yeah.
So they created three types of products. They had the products for the wealthy elite, the products for the people who were the business people, and they had the products for the everyone else. Again, this is what unfortunately a lot of people out here in the country don't understand. They think it's a racialized based system, right? However, hopefully in this class you understand that the racial dimension, because there are some racial dimensions, the racial dimension, is that the substance or is that the veneer? Meaning the cover, the surface. Is that the substance or that's the surface of the system? What?
Surface.
The surface. Because again, we're talking about here in this instance, are they talking about African Americans, black people here in this context? No. They're talking about who? No. They're talking about the 3 different types of products. The first product was made for the who? The masters, right? The second product was made for the who? The business people. The third set of products was made for who? Everyone else. And who is a member of everyone else? The poor. The poor are what color? What? Everybody. Come on, man. That's what I'm saying. Don't fall for the okie doke. Don't allow yourself to be bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray. It's everybody. Thank you. It's everybody, right? And that's the next reason why this movement was formed. So again, finished on each was priced lower than its predecessor, and masters differentiated wage rates depending upon the market supply. And so the journeyman got what?
They attempted to fix wages for shoemaking at the rate for bespoke work.
Exactly. They were like, well, look, we should get basically more money from this system here, right? And they did what?
They concerted refusal to work at rates that vary depending on the market for their output. This was seen by the employers as a criminal conspiracy.
Exactly. Like, hold on. You workers can't get together and basically, try to make more money, because by doing so, you're committing what?
Conspiracy.
A conspiracy, right? A conspiracy. And so, what happened?
A court found that the cordwainers' collective actions in pursuit of their personal interests contravened the public's interest and was hence a criminal conspiracy.
And what happened?
Each member of the union was fined $8.
And that's amounting to about what in today's dollars?
$5,000.
And what was the doctrine that came out?
The conspiracy doctrine was established under which a union could not be punished.
Could what?
Could be punished, sorry, if either its means or its ends were deemed illegal by the courts.
Exactly. So that conspiracy doctrine, to some extent, continues to exist today, which is something that does it help union organizing or hinder union organizing? Does it help union organizing or hinder union organizing? Hinder. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for giving us that footnote in history there, Mr. Solomon. All right. So, what happened in 1842, though? 1842, Mr. Stewart, in Massachusetts. What happened? In Commonwealth v. Hunt. What happened?
The Massachusetts Supreme Court overturned the conviction of the Boston journeymen, bootmakers, and society members for refusing to work in shops, and where non-members were below the negotiating rate.
Again, the court held what?
The court held society action was primarily to persuade non-members to join rather than to secure criminal ends, and refused to enjoin organizing activities.
Again.
Reason.
So, I'm sorry, finish it up.
I was saying, however, it did not say that injunctions against other collective activity until he stopped.
So again, in the early days of union organizing, it was almost considered a crime to basically band together and refuse to work, right, for unless your wages were increased. And then, again, in 1842, Massachusetts said, well, no, you can organize because the effort in organizing was to persuade the non-members to join rather than to actually bring about some type of criminal ends. So it wasn't criminal for you to basically, protest and organize and stop work, but it was only, again, to hopefully bring about an increase in your union membership. And that itself was a non-criminal action. However, they didn't say that all union organizing was legal, but at least the organizing that is described there. All right. Thank you. So again, thank you. You can have a seat. So then, what happened right before? What happened in the pre-Civil War period? What was going on in the pre-Civil War period?
Let's see here. That was Mr. Stewart got that point. Miss Thompson, you are already helping next. So, Ms. Vaden,
What was happening in the pre-Civil War period? Such as?
Employers doubted their legitimacy. Courts that enjoined and punished collective activity. And employment competition for increasing numbers of people.
And so, did the collective activity go down, or did it continue to rise?
It continued.
To do what? Did it go down or continue to rise?
Right.
But what were the most active of people who were involved in unions? Who were they? Were they the unskilled workers or no? The most active were what? Were who?
Unskilled.
Yes. You said they were textile workers, right? Unskilled textile workers. They became, but the most who were involved were who? The most unionized people were who during that time period? The most unionized people during the pre-Civil War period was who? Who? Skilled artisans. What is an artisan? An artisan. Who is an artisan? Ms. Vaden? Again, people who have skill. Artisans are people who are artistic, right? People who have skills, who are they are people who can create things, right? That's the reason why they're called artisans. It comes from the root word what? Art. Okay, so again, we got to understand and put into context these things. So the artisans were the ones who were organizing with some unskilled workers joining in. But Andrew Jackson. Now, who is Andrew Jackson, Ms. Vaden? So tell me about Andrew Jackson. When was he elected?
Who? Miss Washington. How about Ms. Vaden?
1821, Andrew Jackson. 1820, huh? 1829, he was elected. Who was the president before him? I said, who was the president before Andrew Jackson? Who was the president before Andrew Jackson? Who was the president before Andrew Jackson? Do you not have a phone? Do you, Miss Vaden, have a phone? Do you? Do you have a phone, Miss Vaden? You don't. Do you? You do have a phone, right? Does it have internet connection? Miss Vaden. John Quincy Adams was the president before Jackson. Is that what it said? And who was the president before John Quincy Adams? Who? So you had Monroe. You had Monroe. You had Adams. And then you had Andrew Jackson. You said then you had Jackson, right? Thank you. And Jackson was what party? What party was Jackson in? He was a Democrat. And tell me, what was the party of Lincoln? Republicans. And the Republican Party was against what? The Republican Party was against what was formed as a party of what? Huh? Come on, Ms. Vaden. The Republicans. Who were they formed? What was their number one issue when they were formed? To end what? Slavery. Come on now. Think about it. The Republican Party was the party of abolitionists. Party that wanted to end the DNC. The what? The divide and conquer. They wanted to end the divide and conquer. And so the Democrats, they wanted to do what? Keep it going, right? To maintain chattel slavery, right? The Democrats. And so, again, when we read that the working parties contributed to the election of Andrew Jackson, we will know that again that some of these people who are workers, they were already beginning to be bought into this idea of the DNC, being said that the race was the basis of their elevation. You see what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying, Ms. Vaden? You get what I'm saying, right? So again, when we read things, I want you all to have a proper context about who you're talking about. You know, are you talking about somebody who is a friend or a foe? Okay? Because if you put this in the context, then you can be able to really understand how this union movement came to be. All right? Thank you very much. So then you had the birth of the national labor unions. And what was the first national labor union, and when was it formed? When was it formed? Miss Washington. Miss Washington. First national labor union, and when was it formed?
It was formed in 1866.
And what was it?
I mean, it was a national labor union. I don't think that's what it's called.
It was called the National Labor Union, right? And it was formed in 1866. And what were its goals?
Largely political and reformist rather than economic or immediate.
and its leader was what?
William, how do you pronounce his last name?
Silvis, right? And he had been the leader of the what?
The National Molders Union.
So again, there was a national union before, maybe more than national unions, but it was not as large as the National Labor Union, right? And its goals were what?
It included introduction of the 8-hour workday, establishment of consumer cooperatives, reform of currency and banking laws, limitations on immigration, and establishment of federal Department of Labor.
So tell me, first of all, when was the 13th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution, when were they codified and ratified into the Constitution? What is the 13th Amendment?
Isn't that the one that gave everybody
Abolish slavery.
Yeah.
Abolish slavery.
Yeah, that one.
That one. She says that one. Come
It's
on.
a good one. I just say it like that. It's a good one. It's really great.
13th Amendment. 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery. Right? Abolishing a person's ability to come and basically just come and take you from your, in fact, throw out any books that you had, right? Take you and put you into a house, make you work for them until you die. Wasn't an 8-hour work shift. Thank you. Wasn't an 8-hour work shift, but it was a work from what to what? From what? Can't see to when? Can't see. Can't see to can't see. That's when you work. Is that 8 hours? What's can't see to can't see?
All day.
What how many hours is it?
16 hours.
About 14.
About 14 hours, right?
They didn't have weekends.
About 16 hours. About 16 hours, right? So you went from a 16-hour work shift to an 8-hour work shift. Right? So again, tell me, when is the 13th Amendment ratified?
1865.
When?
Within 1865.
1865. Now put that into context. So again, we had this first, the National Labor Union was formed in 1866. After what? After the end of slavery. You see what I mean? And again, this so don't think that the end of slavery didn't have anything to do with the formation of these unions. Because when slavery was ended, what did you have after slavery? What do they call that? The what movement? What's the era after slavery? Reconstruction. And Reconstruction was what? Reconstruction was about basically trying to reconstruct the society, give people, again, the rights based upon their humanity, not based upon their color. Make sure that everybody had a fair share to some extent. They're reorganizing the environment to make sure that the Africans and the descendants of Africans were being treated fairly. But not only that, because again, not just Africans were slaves, but who else were slaves? Caucasians were as well. The poor Caucasians were as well. Really? Really? Really?
Where do you see that? No, I'm serious. This is my first time I've ever heard that.
So again, we're moving on. We're gonna deal with this. We're gonna deal with this again. But again, the labor unions don't think that the labor unions. In fact, it's again, we're going to dive into this and see that it's possibly evident that the labor unions were again a reaction to the end of slavery. they were to some extent, the poor Caucasian workers were organizing themselves because the Africans were being able to actually come in and actually compete with them. And so they had to create, again, groups in order to protect themselves from being able to being displaced by this new workforce called who? Freed Africans, right? By the Emancipation Proclamation. And so they created, again, a division, right? Also note they were also against what other group? Starts with I. Same group Trump is against. The who? The immigrants. Now think, who were the immigrants back at that time? Were they Latinos? Native Americans? Native Americans? Brother, how can Native Americans be immigrants to this country? Who said that? How can Native Americans be immigrants to their own country? They can't be immigrants. It's impossible. But think about it. One group of immigrants were the Chinese. Thank you. That was one group of immigrants. But also, other Europeans were also immigrants. Think about this. So again, it wasn't based upon, again, purely racialized factors. These people were trying to, again, protect themselves from protect themselves from competing with other people, just like the people who are supporting the Republicans now are basically trying to say the same. They're protecting themselves from competing with other people. Now, why were they protecting themselves from competing against the immigrants? What are the immigrants? Who are these immigrants? Who are the immigrants now? Where do immigrants now come from? So-called immigrants come from now. South of the border. So tell me about these so-called immigrants. Why do people here not like the so-called